Okay, so now we will have this as a option for sharing if any of you have questions in follow up. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing video as well as everybody else. But what we're going to be doing is walking through this system today. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat to ask those. And then at the end of the presentation, we will be walking or unmuting everybody so that you can ask your questions. And we're going to continue to have people joining us, and we've got some people that will be helping us admit all of those folks as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I know many of you are excited to see the new things that you're going to have access to. So you can see here some of our immediate goals when we were starting this was to allow people to use this for Section 106, technical assistance, National Register nominations, our National Archaeological Database, Historic Architectural Database, and our Historic Inventory Site File. These are all currently available in the system, and we are now increasing this to the federal historic tax credits. We continue to work on other aspects of this system so that we can roll out continued improvements in the future. So with this new system, to lay out a few of the basics right in the very beginning, before we hop over and start taking a look at what we've got there, you're going to be what we like to call community users. The ESHPO is our community, and it's built off of a Salesforce background, for those of you that may be familiar with that system. With this, you will have a login and a contact. That login will be an email that you choose to provide us with, and then you will set a password that will allow you to use that system. It is very important that you keep your login and keep track of that, because while we can reset your password, it is you will have to reach out to somebody with our office to identify your login name, because you're unable to recall that from the system. So make sure you remember which email you use. And then the access is going to be based on an individual. I have down here an agency because that's often the users that we have in the system, but there will only be one person that will be able to access the different projects that they are submitting. We have some handy quick reference guides. Those are actually already up on our website. So if you go to the Federal Historic Tax Credit How to Submit page on the DCA website, you will see that at the bottom there's a PDF called Quick Reference Guide for Federal Historic Tax Credits. That walks you through the very basics of how to submit a project and has some handy images that will help make sure that you're clicking the right buttons and adding the right pieces. We also have this for the other aspects of this system that we have made available. So you'll see those kind of scattered across the website at the various pertinent places. These will walk you through how to begin a new case, filling out basic information, not providing a federal determination in this case, but also uploading files that you'll need for your tax part. And then in some cases, you will notice that we have linked the historic property that your project is working on, because this system allows us to really make a lot of connections that in the past were a little bit more difficult. So with this, let's go ahead and take a look at our new system. So this is the page that you will land on when you go and take a look at our ESHPO. It's iowaculturecommunity.force.com. And when you get here, if you do not already have an existing account with us, you're going to have to click Login Access Request. You only need to do this one time. After this, you will have your account and you will be able to log in and see the projects that you have submitted and then submit new projects. Contact name, email, those are the two very important pieces. We also like to know what types of projects that you're working on. It allows us to help track some of the folks that we have coming through the office. Once you have submitted that, It can take up to 24 hours or longer for you to receive access to the system. So it's definitely not something that you want to leave to last minute if you do need to submit something right away. And the reason that that is because we do have to go through and manually create these accounts. So um, you can reach out to myself or to Barry Bennett if you have any questions about using the system. If you have completed your login access request and you have your username and you have set a password, then you will be able to click login up on the top right corner and add in your login and your password. I've already got mine pre-filled to make this a little bit smoother. So we'll go ahead and click login. And as you can see, it takes me right back to the landing page, but now I have a little bit more information that is available to me. You can see that I have a username up here in the top right corner. This will actually look like your login email when you're utilizing the system. You can also see that I have cases, historic property, HADB, and NADB available. So we're going to start off with cases and click on that tab. Now you can see I have several different types of cases. We are still testing out state tax credit projects. So while you see that available, we do not actually accept that as a form of submission at this time. We also accept, like I said, Section 106, technical assistance, and those types of projects. And then also here you can see an existing federal tax credit project that I have in my case list. If you would prefer to have this be a little bit more limited, you can actually come down and click and just look at the federal tax credit projects that you have submitted. Some people are working with our office on a variety of different projects, and this will allow them to really be able to filter this to the projects that they might be interested in at the time. Very quickly, we're going to go through the other tabs, and then I will show you how to submit a new case. When you come in and take a look at this, this is the historic properties, and you can see we have a list here that you can go through, and it has the historic properties that are available in our inventory. The search here is a little bit more limited than what we might like. So if you are having issues with searching for a particular property, please feel free to reach out and let me know. And we can work on kind of improving some of the access there. So we're happy to take feedback on things that might improve the system. Historic architectural database. You can see here that you can go through and look at the different surveys. Now, we do not actually have the survey documents available at this time, but you can see what surveys we have at hand and then request those from our office. We also have NADB. Now, you'll notice that there's nothing here, and that's because the NADB tends to have restricted information involved. And so therefore you can only see the pieces of the archaeological database that you have submitted yourself. So if you go to this and it is blank, just be aware that means that you haven't submitted any NADB forms to our office, and there's nothing necessarily wrong going on with the system there. Now, back to cases, I'm going to click new, and we're going to start walking through this process. So you can see, like I said, we have several different types of cases that you could submit. And in this case, I want to submit a new federal tax credit project. And I will select that on my pick list and click next. All right. So once you're in here, there's a few things that can be incredibly helpful to know. There are red asterisks, and those are the pieces that are required. And then there's also information buttons like this one that's popped up immediately right here that will give you a little bit more information on what you might need to be submitting for this particular project. And we are going to go through and fill this out. And you'll notice that I'm not using some incredibly explicit information, and that is because I need to be able to go in and find this when we are done and delete that. So we're going to autofill this out with some of our information. We're going to actually say, let's click. And all of these are pretty simple. Click in and you can, like I said, it can autofill for you. You can go through and fill all of these out. For the sake of expediency, I am having it autofill, and I am going to be the applicant in this case as well as the person submitting, and in the area. All right, and Iowa. Okay, so now we get to some of the more specific project information. Is the applicant the fee simple owner? Yes or no? So in this case, I'm going to say yes. Is this a moved building? Yes or no? I am going to say no. And then nature of the request. Um, it walks you down through your different choices. And you'll notice that if you hover, it actually allows you to see the entire bullet point, even though it might be too long to fit on the screen at this time. So oftentimes hovering will allow you to see the rest of the information there. So we're going to go ahead and just select the first one. And then this is for SHPO use only. So anything below for SHPO use only, you will not be able to fill out. And you will see here that it does have this piece right here that says status and it says draft. Please leave this at draft. This should not be changed. And if you do change it, it will actually prevent you from being able to click save. So we're going to go ahead and click save. Now, obviously, you can go through and fill out the pieces that are required at this point. And then once you are in this screen where you're seeing the project that you've started, you can scroll down and correct any information or add to it as needed. Now, you'll notice that it says here, after clicking save, continue to part 1 and tax parts to submit your part 1. So we can see here, everything looks good. So I'm going to submit this for approval. You will see the submit for approval button kind of throughout as you work through. And just to be clear, this is not a approval in any way that it has a meaning to the State Historic Preservation Office. This is a required button to be able to jumpstart some processes that we have in the back end. So this is a little bit more important when we're talking about areas like Section 106, but just wanted to make sure everybody's aware that while it says submit for approval, all that's really meaning is you want it to, on the back end, send up a flag that you're submitting a project. It does have the ability to provide comments here. You can put comments in. I will let you know that they're not easily viewable on our end, so please keep that in mind when you're putting in comments. And also, these are still state records, so probably it's best to leave this area blank. But you know, if you do put comments in, it's not going to break the system. Let's go ahead and take a look at our part 1. And so you can see there that I clicked in and have this information here already pre-filled, which is kind of handy. It will pre-fill from the case on through part 1, part 2, and your part 3. But let's say information has changed. You can click on one of these and begin editing and changing information. So is the applicant the fee simple owner? Yes. Is this a moved building? No. Again, I've already chose the nature of my request. Now we get to the signature point. So there's several options and things that you're going to need to consider as you work through this signature piece. Applicant is the legal owner or otherwise qualify as eligible taxpayer. I'm going to go ahead and say that I am the legal owner, again, with the fact that this case is going to be deleted afterwards. Authorization if other qualify, so you can float here to get more information on that, but this is attesting that the information I've provided is, to the best of my knowledge, correct, and that I'm authorized to submit an application for approval for the rehabilitation of the building there. And then we also have here, in case somebody is submitting on behalf of an applicant. So this is an option that can be chosen, and then I will provide my signature and date. Now, again, we're back down here to this piece for SHPO documentation, and this is our parts that you will be unable to fill out, but as they are filled out by internal SHPO staff, you'll be able to see what values are being placed in there. So I'm going to scroll up and make sure that I'm happy with everything else, and I am, and I'm going to hit save. Oop, signature date. Well, we're just going to do that then, and hit save. Okay, so this is ready to go, but hitting save does not actually mean that I've submitted this so that it becomes a part of the projects in waiting. And I say projects in waiting because at this point, the federal government is unable to accept electronic federal historic tax credits. So you'll notice that there's no ability to submit files in this. And we do want to be able to take electronic files in the future. And we're making sure that we're ready for that change and able to support it using this process when that's available. But for right now, you'll be able to fill out this information, submit your part one to be in our list of projects that will be coming in. And then you will have to submit your paper copy and all of your supporting documentation along with a CD with files. So that practice will remain the same. And I think we can all say that we'll be waiting very, very patiently for the ability to submit those electronically with the files as well. So I'm going to click submit for approval. Again, you can put comments in. You do not need to do that. And then I'm going to hit submit. So this locks the project. It looks like I can go in and I can make changes. So I'm going to go down here and say that all of a sudden I want to submit it for a different reason. And it will not allow me to do that. The record is locked. So while it is under review, you're unable to submit or alter new or different information. You can come in and you can still provide, let's say you need to provide an amendment, you can still do that. You can come here, you would type in your amendment name. If this is the first amendment that you have submitted, you would provide amendment 1. This is going along with the federal tax part 1. Click this and then hit save. So you have started the process for your amendment and you can come in here. Now, again, it shows files, but this is because we're still testing this out in some areas, but you will still have to be submitting all of your federal documentation in paper form as a piece of support for this process. And so here we have it actually split to where you can see the ESHPO documentation and then also those pieces that are pertinent to specifically federal tax credit amendments. And then you can submit your amendment for approval as well. So I'll go ahead and do that. Again, comments, you can fill that out if you'd like to, but really prefer if they were just left blank. And let's say that you have an interest in just wanting to make sure exactly what you have submitted this initial time. If you want, the system allows you in any of these windows to have a printable view that you print out, and then you can share that with others as you see fit. Okay, so we're going to go back to cases, and you can see here that I have a new federal tax credit project in my case list, and come in, and this is the one that I've just submitted. So that's how you can come through and take a look and see what it is that you have at hand. And then go in and take a look at the tax part 1 here. Now, in the background, we have somebody who's going to go through, and I will have somebody approve my federal tax credit part 1, because you cannot submit your part 2 for the tax credits unless the previous part has been approved, and that's approved with conditions or approved with comments. And then once that approval has occurred, you will be able to move forward into submitting the next part. The parts work very similar across the board. So let's see. Also, once you're in here, you'll be able to see the days open for review. And once you come in, you'll be able to see your Iowa tax credit project number, your NPS project number, and all these different pieces of information as we fill those out on our side. And this is just a really good way to be able to come in and double check your project. So I'm going to pause here for a second and let some people on the back end go in and approve that. And then while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and unmute for questions at this time, and then we'll keep going as we need to. All right, so you should be able to turn your microphone on if you'd like to ask questions, if you did not want to put those in the chat.
Heather, Jack has a question.
Jack, if you'd like to go ahead, feel free to unmute and go ahead and take a shot at that.
Okay, I had the wrong button I was looking at. Thank you. Will this automatically assign the file number when you go and do the review of what you submitted, or how does that work?
It will not automatically assign the file number, but it will be assigned early in the process so that you're able to, like I said, to come back and take a look at that and see if that information is provided in the ESHPO use. On our end, once it's been submitted, we then have a intake process that gets all the information where it needs to go, gets the reviewer assigned, and really sets the projects up for review on our side.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay. Yes, thanks, Steve. So consultants submit on behalf of a property owner. It is possible for people to submit on behalf of the property owner, but you do need to provide a letter of authorization along with your other documents. So we do need to have actual documentation from the property owner allowing that submission to occur. Until we receive that, the submission will remain in holding. Well, in stasis, since holding has a technical meaning in this case. That was a good question. Any other questions?
Hey, in follow-up to that question, the application has the owner's wet signature, right? So it's only when if I'm working for the owner of the property, then I could submit this application and the paper copy with the owner's wet signature, and I wouldn't need that letter, correct?
So we've been working under with the eye towards moving to a fully digital system, in which case we still want the letter to say that this person is allowed to submit on the owner's behalf.
Thank you. Understood. Okay.
Not a problem. A lot of this is us just being prepared for a potential future transition. Okay.
I have a question. Sorry, I joined a little bit late. We are actually pretty far along in our process where we're getting ready to finish up the part 2 and hopefully submitting part 3 soon. Is all of our history going to be copied over into this new system?
Yes, we actually have already been hard at work transferring pieces over into the new system. And so this is part of the email that was sent out. You will be able to get connected with those projects by sending us an email with the appropriate tax credit information that would allow us to make that connection. And then again, if you're not the property owner, authorization from the property owner allowing you to have access to that project. But we'll be able to connect you to your existing project, and you can be able to move forward using the ESHPO system.
Excellent. Thank you.
Not a problem. Jack, it looks like you have another question. If you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, it's all related to this. I'm hoping that you're going to send out more detailed information, because this is a new wrinkle, and for consultants, this could, and architects that are preparing these, this is a whole new wrinkle in the system. Will you be posting exact and details on how this is supposed to be handled?
We'll be posting this video, so you'll be able to take a look at this webinar. We have our quick resource guides out there, and then we're available for questions. Most of this, as far as how this would work, is directly mimicking the existing documentation that's in paper form, and we're happy to answer any questions that anybody has if they have a question about the specific process. Let's see, it looks like we've had some other call or questions pop up in this. Can owners see a draft prepared by a consultant to sign it themselves? So unfortunately, we are not able to provide access to multiple individuals within the system. So it is one person that is able to see this. One thing that would be able to be possible is to use the printable view to provide a digital representation of the information in the case and the parts. So that is one option that we have seen people consider using for that. If that leads to other questions, people can feel free to go ahead and do so. But my part 2 is now accessible. So I'm going to go ahead and work through submitting that. And I am going to go and mute people's microphones again. But if you have further questions, please feel free to pop those into the chat.
Heather, just a quick add to that consultant question is that if you are the listed project contact, then that would be a place where you wouldn't have to have an additional owner letter added. But if you're neither the applicant nor the project contact, that would be the same as when we get calls from consultants currently on federal projects. If you are not listed on the application, we need additional correspondence from the owner saying it's okay to talk about their project with you. It's just maintaining that level of authorization from the owner that it's okay for us to communicate with someone on their behalf. Thanks.
Not a problem. Thanks for the clarification, Lori. Okay, again, chat's available if you have any questions. We're going to go ahead and move ahead with the part 2. So as you can see here, another part has popped up on my list. But if I go down to the bottom, well, I did not take the time to be able to fill out all of these different pieces with the information at the bottom. At this point, the SHPO documentation would be completed down at the bottom. But for expediency's sake, we're going to go ahead and start our part 2. So you can see that this has pre-filled, like the part 1 did, with information from the case. But now I have my part 2 specific information that I need to go ahead and fill out. We've got information here so that you can see legal notifications. We have definitions as well, if there is any question regarding those. And as we go through, we have whether or not this is a phase project, whether or not this is a multiple, or whether or not this involves multiple buildings within the project, the estimated start date. Again, just using this as a quick example, we're going to go ahead and say our start date is the 30th. Estimated date of completion, it will be the fastest project ever because it will be completed by December 1st. And then total project cost. This is QRE plus non-eligible costs. So the information buttons are there to help guide you with what information would go into what specific place. We've tried to build a lot of the guidance into the system itself. So total project cost is not a required field. So I'm going to go ahead and keep moving through. We also have the qualified rehabilitation expenditures with code reference below. And then will there be an addition? No, I am keeping this project simple. And then again, you can see the SHPO documentation down here that will be filled in as we move through this project. So I will hit save. If I wanted to show this to somebody and did not want to have them come to my computer so that I could show them what it looks like, I could again come up here to printable view. and have a printout of the information that I am submitting. And I'm going to submit for approval. We have the potential for comments. Again, please don't fill those out with anything that requires us to know about it or see it in case that is missed. Click submit. And again, the project is locked and the days open for review has begun a countdown so that you can keep track of that with the assistance of this. So quick look through again, and then I'm going to go back to my original case. There are several different ways that you can do this in the system. So please feel free to, when you're in the system, kind of click around and get used to what might be available. So I clicked the case number. It brought me back to my case view. I can see my part 2 here. Typically, if there has been an NPS determination for these federal historic tax credits, you would see the determination listed here as well. But I'm flying through this system as we go through to show you how to operate it on the user end. So that's not visible. In the future, should there be state historic tax credits being reviewed through the system, you would see the SHPO determination for the state historic tax credits on this side. Because this is a integrated system, we can't show either or, so you can see both. NPS is important in the federal historic tax credit program, and SHPO is important in the state historic tax credit program as far as these columns go. And again, once my part 2 is approved, I'll be able to submit my part 3. So on the back end of the system, taking care of that approval.
And at this point, the review really doesn't start until the review period doesn't start until the hard copies and disk are submitted to the physical location of the SHPO.
Yeah, we're all going to really be able to look forward to when we'll have digital submissions, so that this will be a one-stop shop. So here's my part 3, again, filled with the information from previous case, and then come down here to the project information for the specific part 3 pieces. Now, if the applicant owner information has changed, I can edit that. Maybe I just misspelled my name. I didn't, but you know, you could still go through and change these and hit save. Maybe Barry has became property owner. So it is possible to do that and then hit save. And you can come in and make tweaks to this as long as you have not hit submit for approval at that point. It's locked and you can no longer make any changes until it is, unless access is returned to you. So I'm going to go down here, start date of the project. We started on time. When or will did construction on the building start? Date of completion, schedule pushback, it's going to be the 3rd. Final project cost, this is QRE plus non-eligible costs. Again, this is not, we don't have an asterisk next to this, but it should be filled out. We have information on qualified rehabilitation expenditures here as well, and then our final rehabilitation expenditures. And you can fill all of those in. And then SHPO information down at the bottom that will be filled out after this has been submitted. So I can take a quick look at the information that I've provided. I can come up and print this off to PDF if I would like. Once I have clicked submit for approval, not filling out the comments with anything important. Once I've clicked submit for approval, I can still, if I need to, come back in and submit an amendment to my part 3. But you cannot actually change the part 3 until the review is complete. Now, final important piece in here is, let's say that there has been more information requested and you need to be able to update this. we will be able to reinstate control of the case to you. So with that, more information requested, the case will reopen and you will be able to continue to make some new edits. So I'm going to give you an example of that, and then we'll reopen for more questions. Without the ability to add files at this point, it's a bit of a more simple process to be able to complete all of this. So my part 3 has been reopened. And you can see the submit for approval is back, and I can go in and make edits as needed. And then submit for approval again after my edits have been completed. Now, in the back end of this, paper would be coming in to support these digital records. So this is pretty brief, but at the same time, I hope informational. I'm going to open up for some more questions, but this is the extent of our federal state historic tax credit system, and more will be opened up as we're able to intake with electronic documents. And at that point, we'll have another session where we'll walk everybody through with the new additions to the system. So let me go ahead and turn on your ability to use your microphone. And then if you have any questions, you can feel free to pop those in the chat or unmute yourself at this time and go ahead and ask those questions. Looks like Rory Weiss asked if the session is being recorded and if it can be accessed later. Yes, it is. And we will make this accessible. And if you are unable to find this on our website, you can always email us and we can provide you with access to the video that way as well. Anybody else have any questions? Emily Meyer, if you'd like to go ahead.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to confirm that this doesn't supersede anything that happens in Iowa grants or Cactus. This is simply a new process for federal applications only.
Yes, that is correct. This does not supersede anything that is happening in Iowa grants or in Cactus. It is only for federal. Should any future changes occur that involve state historic tax credits, there will be, again, more communication, another webinar, and some more extensive documentation that goes out.
And could you confirm how we'll know which of our ongoing projects need to go into this system and which entries need to be made?
So if this is for the Federal Historic Tax Credit Program, all of your previous submissions have already been uploaded into the system. They're just only available on our side at this point. If you have any additional federal submissions that you're making for existing projects, reach out to our office and we can connect those to you, and they can all then come in through this system. Although, again, up until the point where we're able to provide digital documentation to the federal agency, we still have to have the paper on the back end.
Oh, thanks.
Not a problem. Good questions. Thanks for asking. Are you required to use this system for the federal tax credit process? This is incredibly helpful to us and important for our documentation, and can greatly speed the process once we are able to get your paper application in. So required, I'm not sure that we actually can require, but highly, highly encouraged, yes. And Jack, it looks like you have a question. If you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, that I was wondering about those projects that are currently in and under review. How do we find out what the status is of those reviews? For the part ones now in federal.
Yes. So if you would like, you can reach out regarding those projects to gain access to those. The information on what to include in the email was sent out in the invitation to this webinar, but I will follow up by sending out that email again, minus the invitation to a webinar, so that doesn't become confusing. But you can gain access to that, and you can see the current status of the federal project in the system. We have been using this internally to track projects. as a way to prepare for the rollout. So we have all of that information internally.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Thanks for asking. Any other questions? These are great.
Can you show the page again that lists all of your open cases?
Yes.
And if we have something that's already active in the federal system, we should see our cases on this page when we log into this system? Is that?
So you will have to request access to those. So you'll want to request your login access to the system and then send an email with a list of the projects that you need to have transferred to your access.
Okay.
We worked through several different scenarios, and that seemed to be the neatest way to handle this. So here you can see my federal tax credit project because I have a variety of different types of cases that's in this system. So this here has a little bit more information that is specific to tax credits versus the very generic initial screen of my cases. And if this is my favorite, I can actually pin this list so that when I come to the cases view, federal tax credits is the first that shows. So.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Any other questions? If you leave this webinar and are suddenly struck with a question that you forgot to ask, please feel free to email. I am one of the primary administrators for our ESHPO system, and Barry Bennett is also very familiar with the system. So if it is ESHPO based, please feel free to reach out to us. If it is more tax credit project based, then you'll still want to reach out to your existing reviewer. But we are really excited about this and looking forward to working through this with everyone, and very happy to answer questions that you might have following today. And you can send those to us in an email or give us a call. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to stop recording and wish you all a wonderful Monday.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.